I knew I didn't always want to do that, but boy, you really get a great experience when you're a public defender. I mean, I can tell you, here I am, I got braces when I was in law school, so I looked like I was 10, and I was going into the jail, and I was interviewing these guys, and they thought they had lost the lottery twice. First, they get
Oh
caught
no.
with a crime, and then they saw me with braces, and I'm like, hey, buddy, you're going to have to cop that attitude because the only chance you have of getting out of here is me. I might look like I'm 10, but I know what I'm doing, and we're going to work together to help you out here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Hockey Journey Podcast, episode number 146, The Hockey Lawyer, Michael O'Neill, Schmerls, presented to you by onlinehockeytraining.com. I'm your host, Coach Rem Pitlick. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on any future episodes. Before we have a skate at an out-of-town rink with someone I'm grateful is in my life who loves hockey, but his true calling is being a pit bull in the lawyering sector, and we begin this conversation. If you want to learn more about me, my hockey experiences, what I know, and most importantly, how I've been helping hockey players get really good with a stick and puck, just head on over to onlinehockeytraining.com and gain instant access to my 10-part video series where I'll show you everything. Consider it my gift to you. Lastly, if you live in Minnesota or are visiting the state of hockey sometime soon and you want to schedule an in-person off-ice stick skills lesson, I'd love to have the opportunity to show you my little world. Go to sweethockeycoach.com, that's sweethockeycoach.com, and watch the video on the homepage for instructions. Thanks, and I look forward to working with you sometime soon. Today I'm excited to have a conversation with someone I'm grateful is in my life and respect immensely, Michael O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill has worn many hats over the years, a club hockey player during his college days, a dedicated youth hockey coach, and a respected attorney who once helped me through a significant business legal matter. Today, our conversation comes full circle as our sons face off against each other in college hockey this weekend. A moment that marks just how much our hockey journeys have intertwined and our lives. So, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get to it. Michael O'Neill, welcome to the Hockey Journey Podcast.
Hey, Lance, welcome to you, and great to talk to you. And yes, how coincidental that our two boys are facing off tonight and this weekend. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It's just ironic, too. I never looked at the schedule. But anyways, I'm really happy that you're here. I'm looking forward to the conversation. And how I like to start each episode is to get a little background information in your, lawyer in terms is that background check. Get a little background check
There
on
you go.
you. And let's go back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like? Talk about your parents, friends, introduction to hockey and other sports. Basically, tell the listeners, in a nutshell, what the heck it was like growing up Michael O'Neill.
All right. Well, thanks, Lance. Yes, I can say I had a great childhood growing up. I grew up in St. Paul. If you're familiar with Summit Avenue, we were on Summit Avenue right by Macalester College. The beauty of that with connected me to hockey was that we were able to have a backyard rink. So we had one. I would walk 2.5 blocks to school, as they say. That was the old days where you walked to school. But there was rinks in each block as we walked. We each if we could pick up our friends and, after school go and play in any of the rinks. So it really made for a fantastic childhood growing up. I'm one of 8 children, 5 boys. We all played hockey, and we all had a great time doing it. I was number 4 in the line, so I got to see my older brothers play hockey. We all went to St. Thomas Academy. This was back in the 70s. And so my oldest brother was a goalie, brother Tom was a forward, John a forward, and then myself, my brother Kevin forward. So I went out there in 1981. I graduated, played sophomore a little bit, and then junior and senior year. And yeah, just had a great time playing hockey in St. Paul and then playing out at St. Thomas. And then that continued.
Hold on,
I went out,
I wanna stop you for one
yeah,
second. I wanna just ask you a couple questions. So, one of eight, so five boys, three girls.
yep.
Uh, what was your mom just an animal? I mean, holy
Yeah,
cow!
yeah. No,
Raising
she
eight kids. Did she work or was she at home?
she was at home and
Yeah.
she was fantastic. She was a saint, and so she would drive us to our practices. She would let us play hockey in the backyard, play the other sports in the backyard. And so yeah, she was a saint. Drove us to everything, and I didn't think she gave much thought to the fact that she would have five boys when she was growing up, but that's what she had, and so she had to become a sports fan pretty quick with all the sports that we did, and she took to it very easily and came and watched the games and learned about the different sports. So yeah, she was great in that regard.
Either of your parents coach you in any of the sports?
No, no. My dad was an attorney, was pretty busy, and so he did not coach or make many of the games. It was just not the way it is today. So we would have typically a parent coach, but that was usually the other parents in the neighborhood and had some really good ones. But yeah, they were just fans, and that was the way they participated.
Awesome. I one other thing I want to touch on, you just Summit Avenue and walking through, to school, and it seemed like rink. You can go grab a game wherever there were some kids there. Uh, I think that both of us as parents, as we, um, went through the process of being a hockey dad and mom and coaches, but I think my kids had a pretty good experience as well with the outdoor rinks. But now, I mean, look at what we had last year. I mean, how much did that play a role in your love for the game, the outdoor pond hockey?
It was extremely instrumental. I'll just give you an example. As a young kid, you know how just impressionable the older hockey players were. And my brother Joe was a goalie at St. Thomas, and our next door neighbor was a goalie at Highland. And so, what I remember when I was in like second and third grade is these two guys were nice enough to put on their full pads and come to our backyard rink. And it was Friday night because games for them were usually on Saturday. And so we got to play outside and we got to shoot the puck against, our idols, so to speak, the guys who were tending the net in high school. And so playing outside, playing with them, playing with older players, and then going down to Edgecombe was our playground, and going down to play down there outside again. The rule was if you couldn't hold the heavy shovel, which we called the big men, if you couldn't hold that and you couldn't scrape, you weren't able to play with the big guys. But once you were able to do that, you could play. And so, they made us scrape the ice so they could sit on the boards and watch us, and then the ice would be cleared to play. So those two experiences, both in the neighborhood and then down at the playground, were hugely instrumental in the love of the game because love to be outside, love to be with my brothers, my buddies, and the neighborhood kids, and then just play hockey. It was fantastic.
So as you worked your way up the ladder, any special years as a youth where you made it to the state tournament as a high school player, and then you also were playing other sports?
Yes, yeah. In youth growing up, the one thing about the area that we grew up in, it was Highland. And so the youth teams were, there were area youth teams, but the big deal in that area of town, it's a lot of Catholics, and so you played for your grade school team. And so we played for IHM, and we just had great rivalries with the other grade school teams. It was a bigger deal back then. You really looked forward to play on your grade school team, and then they'd have the city championship, and we did not make it to any championships there, but we had good teams through the years. My brother Kevin and his group, they did win a city championship at IHM. That was really kind of the big deal. And then for high school, the kids from the Highland area pretty much went to Highland, Cretin, St. Thomas, Hill, and so you didn't get that collection all going to one school like I had with my kids at Roseville, and I'm sure you had growing up. So it was a little different. When we were in high school, we had good teams. We had a couple of star players, but we did not ever make it to the state tournament. We made it to the semis my senior year, and I thought that would be the last time I would put on skates competitively when that happened. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my youth hockey with Highland, and then IHM and St. Thomas Academy.
So you played hockey. Was that your number one sport? Because you also were pretty passionate, I think, about golf. Was any other sports in there?
Yeah, golf and hockey became the passionate sports. You know, you kind of go what you can play well. I'll never forget going to St. Thomas Academy as a freshman, and I thought I could play football, and went out there, and I was probably 130, dripping wet, and thinking I could play there. Just absolutely got decimated, playing running back and whatnot. So I was like, well, gosh, I can't wait till the hockey season starts, because I think I'll have a chance against these big guys and that. But the football team was really good. And so that ended my football career. I did play golf out there, and golf was nothing then like it is now, very popular now. Wasn't as popular then, but all five of us boys and my dad played. We had a real love of the game. And so, yeah, I loved that. And that's what I thought I would be doing when it came time for college. I was going to give that a try. I went to the University of Colorado. And yes, that was as much of a love as hockey was, definitely playing golf.
So did you did have the dream to play in college, but I mean back could you get a scholarship? I mean, were you trying to get a
No,
scholarship, or you were just gonna try to play?
yeah, just try and play. And so golf was always a big instrumental part as well for me. I started as a caddy, and I pretty much knew from caddying what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I knew I wanted to be an attorney.
How did
And
that
that,
happen?
so as a caddy, you get to talk to the golfers, and you get to see who the good golfers were. And so we caddied down at Town and Country, and the golfers who talked to me and the golfers who were interested in my golf game or how baseball was going or how football was going was always the lawyers. The lawyers were always talking to me and then getting me involved in their game, like helping read putts, telling them what club to use and all that. So I'm like, wow, these guys seem pretty cool. And my dad was an attorney, and he was kind of the same way. So I thought, wow, these guys are doing something for a living, and it seems like they're happy, seems like they enjoy what they're doing. And I would compare them to the doctors, who usually were not very good golfers, who were usually pretty crusty, and were just, they weren't as fun to be around. And then the business guys were usually, again, the level of golf would vary. There'd be ones who were good, but there'd be a lot more that weren't so good. And then I just thought they just kind of seemed like a different group. They were just not that into golf. They were potentially, rude, or, they just weren't like what I saw in the ones who I liked to caddy for, who ended up to mostly be the attorneys. So I thought, well, I think I can do this. So with that in mind, I just thought I had to get through college and then I would go to law school. So I picked a school that I thought would be very fun to go to, and where academics would be part of it, but I thought it would be enjoyable. And University of Colorado at Boulder filled the bill in that regard. So that
I
is, yeah.
I had
So I
no,
selected
no,
that.
no, no. That's
Yeah,
me. Sorry, I wasn't reading you.
no
uh,
problem.
I have to ask you because I was a caddy at Golden Valley Country Club
Yep.
for many years, and the show Caddyshack. I mean,
Yes.
it there's so much truth to that if you've ever been a caddy. Uh, but anyways, I want to know who are the best tippers, the lawyers, the doctors, or the businessmen?
All of them could be. If a businessman was having a good day and was a good golfer, they were definitely the best tippers. The lawyers were pretty consistent. The doctors were pretty consistent, but I would have to say if you had a good businessman golfer who was a good golfer, he had lots of money, he was probably going to be the best tipper. So, and we knew who they were, and so we would definitely make sure that we were caring for them.
Well, yeah, but you had to get the seniority in order to be able to make that call, like who's coming out, who gets that round, because it doesn't
Yeah,
go to the new guy.
no, no, we had to work there 4 or 5 years to get that seniority, but once you did, it was great, and so that was those were good times. You'd be with a buddy, you'd both be carrying doubles, you'd be with four good golfers, they'd be betting on each other, we'd be betting on them. We'd hear old guy jokes. It was fantastic. I loved being a caddy.
It's amazing that I listen to a lot of podcasts, Michael, that on just business creators, founders, entrepreneurs, and if a question's asked to them, you're like, "Did you read a lot of business books?" Uh, Most of them say, "No. What I did is I read autobiographies of people that did really, were successful in business." And you were getting an education as a caddy, kind of like that. I mean, it's like you're listening to a podcast while these guys are talking. You're just, absorbing what they're saying. And that moment, kind of the lightning bolt came down and said, "Holy cow, this is what I want to do." I never had that moment. I still don't know what I want to do, Mike, but I think it's pretty cool when I hear people that's, say, I can tell you the day when it happened, or, this is when it started, where I'm like, I could do this. This is cool. I like the life that I'm seeing these people live.
100%. I totally agree. It's always fun to hear those, and I love the podcast just for that reason.
So you go to Colorado and you start your college education. Um, I know some lawyers, but what's what I know more doctors, I guess. So I know the kind of the process to where you go to college, you get your after that you get your specialized training, post college, and then internships or whatever. But what, tell us the process of going there, and then when you get into lawyering, and then when there's a lot of different sectors. Why did you choose the sector that you chose?
Sure, sure. So I went out there, had a thought that maybe I could play college golf. Again, it was not as popular back then as it is today. And my brother Tom had played college golf at Bemidji State. And so I talked to the coach. They had six scholarship guys. They had six guys that they would take as walk-ons. Thought that that would work out. Happened that my roommate was also a golfer. He showed up with a golf bag and what we called a shag bag, if you remember those. And I told him we were going to get along really well. And when the coach told me that we'd have to drop down to 12 hours a semester and that we'd play golf from 12 o'clock to 5 every day, I thought I died and went to heaven. I thought this is exactly what I need to improve my golf game, and I'm going to play. But
Yeah.
then when I told my dad that, he said, that'll take you 5 years, Michael. You're not out there to play golf. And so I was like, oh man, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And then I saw that they had a club hockey team. I had never heard of club hockey, didn't know it existed. But sure enough, I signed up, and being from Minnesota, they thought that, I was going to be a superstar.
Were they pleasantly surprised?
It was pretty funny. We go to the first practice, and we had to say where we were from. I said Minnesota, went to St. Thomas. Two other guys said they were from Minnesota. One went to SPA and one went to Shattuck. They immediately made us the first line, so it was it was pretty funny. But I tell you, I loved the club hockey experience. You play Friday and Saturday nights, practice a couple days a week. We had a rink right on campus. I could skate as much as I wanted. We got to travel. We got to travel out west, down south, the mountains. I just had a great college hockey experience that I had no idea that I would have had by going there. So I really, really enjoyed that. And
I'm curious, is that like when you talk about traveling, going all these different places, was that because you were on the team? Was that taken care of by the university?
yeah, so it
The
was a
travel
little bit of
expenses?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they had a club athletics department there, and we had a lot of club sports, lacrosse, different club sports, and yeah, they would allow us certain money, so I would help with the scheduling, make sure we played Arizona, make sure we played USC, SMU, Sun Valley. We really scheduled some fantastic places to go to, and then we'd go to Iowa State. They were what you'd have the 21-year-old freshmen, and we'd get killed. And so it's like, okay, let's not go there. Let's continue to go out west. But like Penn State had a club team. North Dakota State had one. Arizona had a really good one. Alabama, Huntsville did,
Cool.
Northern Arizona. So it was fantastic, and it was just a really fun way to spend 4 years of college, playing, being active in a sport.
Would you guys practice once a week or just play the
Yeah,
games?
yeah, once or twice a week we'd practice. Yeah, and it was just, but a lot of games just on the weekends, Friday and Saturday, and play, pretty much from November to March each year.
How cool is that? I mean, you're going to be probably having a couple beers anyways, so get a little workout in after a long week of studying and lock her down on Sunday and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, yeah. Compared to what I see Ryan do, and I'm sure your two boys, I mean, they take hockey pretty serious at the Division 1 level, and they're eating so well, they're working out so hard, they're practicing every day, they're just in a different zone. So I really, am impressed by what they do and how they juggle the studies and the athletics. But we were able to focus on the academics, but still keep active, and playing club hockey allows you to do that.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's like you're playing the club hockey. You got 4 years there. Uh, are you starting to take classes towards lawyering in those 4 years, or is that all secondary education after your 4 years?
It pretty much is secondary education, but again, knowing that I was going to go to law school, I did try and take classes that involved a lot of reading. I knew that once you go to law school, you pretty much give up your social life for 3, 4 years, and you're going to be reading all the time. And so I knew that I'd have to um, get acquainted with that. And so I did take a lot of political science classes and classes that would involve a lot of reading. So you're not really taking pre-law or anything like that. I think some people do, and I think schools are starting to do that. But really, you're just taking courses that may allow for employment if things don't go well with the law. And so I was doing political science and economics, but that was just more to get me ready to go to law school.
So as a youth and, in high school and stuff, were you a recreational reader? Or was this something that you knew you were going to have to do and you're just going to, okay, I just got to start doing this?
You know, the biggest thing I read was sports related stuff. I mean, my dad was just a huge reader of the newspapers. We got both newspapers delivered every day, read those. I mean, we knew when Sports Illustrated came every Friday, we read that cover to cover. Any magazines that were sports related, we read cover to cover. And so I read an awful lot, but it wasn't necessarily books, although we did read books. More, it was periodicals, the magazines, the newspapers, and things like that. So we were always reading or keeping up on different things, and that was part of growing up. And then in college, it was more like I knew I'd have to up my reading game, and so the courses that required that was just I thought it would be a good idea.
Did you take any like accelerated reading classes? I mean, if we talk about hockey, you're going to specialized trainers to get a little leg up. Was there anything out there? I don't even know because I was a C student, so that I wasn't no one was marketing anything to me at that time.
Yeah, yeah. No, there certainly were, but I did not take those. Yeah, those seemed really interesting where they could tell you how to read really quick and remember the content of what you're reading. No, I did not take those. I know they were out there. It was purely enjoyment reading a good book, good magazine, good articles. That pretty much what I was reading in college.
So you go through the 4 years in Colorado. I'm sure that, I mean, being in a different place, that was just for 4 years than Minnesota with the mountains, uh, that it was a great experience. You decide now it's time for law school. Where do you go for that? And talk about the next chapter in that sequence of the book.
Yeah. So went to William Mitchell College of Law, and the thought there was I was going to be paying for the school, so I had to figure out a way in which I could pay for law school. And William Mitchell at the time was really good at allowing you to take classes at night and work during the day. So I was able to do that. My brother John, he's a year older than me. He decided to go to law school as well. So we both started at the same year. We lived together at our home right on
How,
Summit, so we were right down from the law school.
how cool is
So
that?
yeah, that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
So trying to save a buck, living at home, trying to save a buck by working. I ended up working at the Ramsey County Public Defender's Office, and that really triggered an interest for me in law, and I had an interest in law, but a new interest, and then the litigation aspect of it. I really enjoyed being in court, and so it really worked out well. Worked out great to be at William Mitchell where I could go at night, and then I could work 8 to 5 during the day at the Ramsey County Public Defender's Office. The only thing that suffers is your social life. You have none. You work, you go to school from 6:30 to 8:30 or later. Then you get home, you read till 12, and then you get back up and you start it again. And so that was a pretty typical schedule for me. I did it in 3.5 years. You could do law school then 3 years, 3.5 or 4, and that's what it took me for law school.
That's amazing, Mike. I went to a wedding down in El Salvador with a buddy of Rem's, Casey Dornbach, and he went to Harvard. So, Harvard, there's just something about Harvard. So
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people from Harvard there. So, during the wedding, you're talking to people and stuff over the course of the 4 or 5 days that were there. And I talked to a few of the players that Casey played with there. And I I asked players that play at Harvard, I said, after their first year, what was the biggest takeaway that you got is that, and they said that other students that go to Harvard that are just students, that they don't know how you can go to Harvard and play a Division I sport. And then I asked them, I said, well, the ones that aren't playing a sport, I mean, are they working, like you were doing? And they said, no one at Harvard works.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I'm bowing to you right now because the people that are that have to do that. I didn't have to go through it. I got a half scholarship. Any money I left or needed for drinking, I'd give plasma for on the weekends,
Yeah.
just to get by. So, when did the time when you were clerking there, it was clerking, right? Were you,
Yes. Yep.
is that where you kind of figured out again, just being a part of that culture that you wanted to be, that you wanted to specialize in a certain sector of law?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, it's a little narrow with the criminal defense. I knew I didn't always want to do that, but boy, you really get a great experience when you're a public defender. I mean, I can tell you, here I am, you know, uh, I got braces when I was in law school, so I looked like I was 10, and I was going into the jail, and I was interviewing these guys, and they thought they had lost the lottery twice. First, they get
Oh
caught
no.
with a crime, and then they saw me with braces, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, you're gonna have to cop that attitude because the only chance you have of getting out of here is me. I might look like I'm 10, but I know what I'm doing, and we're going to work together to help you out here." So it was a good, it was a great training ground because you're thrown right in the mix, and I was trying cases. We would call them second chair. You would second chair murder trials, and so you'd have to do the investigation for the trial, and then the reward was is that you got to go to trial, and then you got to watch this fantastic attorney, and you got to work with him or her in trying the case, and then you'd be second chair, sitting at the table, helping ask questions, maybe taking a witness. So it was a fantastic training ground for becoming a lawyer, and definitely piqued my interest in working in litigation, broadening the scope away from criminal law and working in other areas. And so that's what happened through that experience. I worked there for 9 years, um, and so really learned a lot and was able to try a lot of cases because of that.
I gotta apologize. There's a lawnmower outside, so if there's noise, people, I apologize. Um, my question from that is, um, I mean, what a pivotal moment. The first time that you went into a prison and you're having to have a conversation with someone that their life is going to be potentially completely altered and changed. And you could have either turtled or you stood your ground. I mean, was that a huge moment the first time you did that? I'm going to be a lawyer. I have to start now. Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, you'd be in there, and I will say that the crowbars definitely caused them to be a little bit more under control. But yeah, you'd get ones who, wanted to act out a little bit, and I was there in a suit, they were in a orange getup, and it just allowed me to tell him how things were. That
Yeah, but
I was
you're in braces. You look like
I'm
you're
in
Bill
braces.
Gates. You know, you just started an internet company and you're going to defend them and get them off. I can see what the story looks like.
Yeah, yeah, it was hilarious. It was very funny, and just worked out. We would reach an agreement very quickly. They would be very cooperative, and that was the way it worked. And it just a little bit about the human condition. They were vulnerable. They had to listen to me, and even if I looked like I was 10, that was all they were going to get. So they needed me, and they needed to cooperate to get out.
So you completely hyper focus and go into monk mode during these 3.5 years to get your all the schooling and credentials. Um, I watch a lot of TV. You know, it influences my perception of lawyers, but there's something called passing the bar. Was that a problem for you? Was it a struggle, or did you knock it out of the park on the first round? Because
Yeah,
that's like the Navy SEALs Hell Week. I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
talk a
No,
little bit about that. I mean, how
yeah,
intense is it?
no. You're asking great questions because these are very sharp memories. I could tell you about those 2 months just like they were yesterday because it was so tough. My brother John and I took the test at the same time. I tell you what, it was very difficult, but difficult things you just got to plan and prepare for. And so I knew that it would be better for me to take the bar exam in the winter because when you take it in the summer, I love to play golf and my concentration wouldn't have been that good. So going 3.5 years, you graduate in December, and then taking it at the end of February. Pretty much, you have to memorize 15 subjects, and you got to commit them all to memory. And so that is what I did for those 60 days, and it was just like a job. You got up and you just studied that subject. You quizzed each other. We would be in quiz groups, and yes, it was definitely a very challenging time because you're memorizing so much, and you take the bar in the end of February, and then you get the news like in April, and yeah, never forget that getting the mail and seeing that we both passed, and yeah, it was very very gratifying. All that hard work paid off.
I don't. I never experienced something like that until I filmed the first part of online hockey training. It was like 500 drills. And I just said, I'm going to start this day and I'm going to repeat the same day until I'm done. And that took me about 3.5 months.
Wow, wow,
And,
yeah,
so I think of that, and unless you go through something like that where it's just rinse and repeat, it's the same thing. And what's I found really interesting is that when you go through something like that, you realize a few things. One, that you can accomplish anything.
yep,
You can do anything. And two is that things get easier when you just get in that routine. Every day is just the same, and you just got to execute that plan. Is that how you found it too?
100%, 100%. You just had to keep memorizing and testing yourself on your memory. And if you got off of a routine, it was going to hurt you. So I just kind of told buddies to lose my number for 2 months. And this is kind of what I was going to be doing. We were living together in a condo, my brother John and I, and it worked out perfect because we really did not do much else besides study for 2 months. And yeah, it really is the way to do it, I think, is you got to have that routine.
A quick word from our sponsor, headsuphockey.ai. The Hockey Journey podcast has a new sheriff in town sponsoring the show, and Coach Lance couldn't be more excited about spreading the love to all of you hockey enthusiasts out there about this new revolutionary stick handling training application powered by AI technology. Michael Fitzgerald and his team over at headsuphockey.ai have absolutely knocked it out of the park with their engaging product that encompasses the majority of the stick skill development sectors like dribbling, faking, cupping, and to me, the most important hockey enhancer of all, and that's vision training. Oh, and did I forget to mention that all of the progress players gain over time using this spectacular device is achieved in a gamification environment, providing performance analytics and data tracking to ensure continuous forward momentum. If interested in picking up a headsuphockey.ai and start the process of separating yourself from the competition, use the code CoachLance at checkout and receive 10% off your developmental investment into yourself. Thank you, Michael Fitzgerald and the headsuphockey.ai team.
How much did you and your brother lean on your dad when you were studying?
He was very busy, and so not as much. There's such a learning curve that we had to know all of these subjects in and out. He was out, focusing on. He was a legislator, and he was also a trial attorney. So those were skills and qualities that he had that weren't necessarily going to help us on the nitty gritty of the subjects that we needed to. So once we got out and past the bar, he was really, really helpful. But for the nitty gritty, it was like, okay, who has the good course materials? Who's the smart kid who can answer any question on that subject? It was far more narrow as to what our needs were for that really difficult task of passing the bar.
Awesome. I had I don't know if I said this earlier, but there was a player that I trained that asked the question. He says, you should do, or didn't ask the question, made a suggestion. He said, you should do a podcast on players that were really passionate about hockey that didn't play college hockey and went on to do great things. And, so I thought that this was such a timely episode that, hockey's a big part of our life, but, as we transition now from you, finding your path in life, you didn't have a social life. Now, when does Beth come into the picture? Because when kids are put into the equation, things kind of change again for you, where you didn't have a life and now all of a sudden you don't have a life because you're so dedicated to the kids. When did Beth come into your life?
Yeah, so Beth came in 1990. We were working at the same law firm. We broke the golden rule that you don't date anyone you work with.
Oh my!
And so yeah, but that ended up to be a good decision, obviously. And so we were able to continue to work for a while together. And then Beth went to another firm, and we continued to date and ended up getting married in 1995. And best move I ever made, marrying Beth.
Good plug, Beth.
Yeah, right. And then, yes, we had 4 kids, and we started out pretty quick. I was 32 at the time when we got married, so I had to get to work a little bit, and ended up having 4 kids between 96 and 2003, Emily, Brittany, Ryan, and Joey. And so very fortunate, all healthy, all doing well. 2 are still in school. Joey's a senior at Iowa State, and Ryan is junior. He could graduate this year possibly at St. Thomas, but the girls have made it through college, and the boys are just about there. So it's been a great run as parents, getting them educated, and hopefully going to be standing on their own feet. The 2 girls are, and the boys are going to be there pretty soon.
I call it getting them off the payroll, Mike.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Pretty soon.
So you're having kids, and obviously as parents, we're introducing them to all kinds of different things, sports being one of them. You had some of them that gravitated toward hockey. talk about, because it's different when you go from being a player to being a coach. It's amazing that you go from being able to walk by not even being able to crawl when you go into coaching for the first time. Did you have that experience? Because that's what it was for me. I played a long time. I got in front of a bunch of 5-year-olds. I felt so out of place. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was so happy that there was some people that uh, had done it before that could mentor me because I was floundering.
Yes, no, I agree. Hockey always kind of was a passion for me, and anything that I could do that could connect hockey with my life always seemed to work out well. And so that's kind of been a rule. I don't meet many people who are involved in hockey that aren't good people. And so it started with work and thinking, okay, how could I connect work and hockey? And fortunate to work as the attorney for the WCHA, and that started in the early 1990s with my dad because he was as well. And then when we started having kids, I thought, well, I would love to still be involved with hockey and so become a coach. And so was able to do that, built a rink in the backyard as I had grown up. And so, yeah, becoming a coach was just fantastic. And then you get there and you don't know the drills, you don't know any of that information. So Jerry Anderson was a coach ahead of me, and his boys were a couple years ahead. And so he was in the Roseville Association. And so you kind of would go watch someone like him coach. And then I was fortunate to have Pat Martin. His son Carver was the same year as Ryan. So I would start to watch him and his drills. And so just by associating with people who were doing great things, you kind of felt comfortable and confident. And then, Ryan was 8 when I met you, Lance, and oh my gosh, you treated this like it was, a college course as far as how these guys were going to practice and the
Well,
drills you had.
let's start right there. So
Yep,
that'll be a great transition,
yep,
our first introduction. So in Minnesota, I'll just give a little lead in here. In Minnesota, we play community-based hockey during the winter months. So that season's going on now, and it usually ends by March. Our high school state tournament is last week in March, first week in, or last week um, February, I think, is the girls, and then first week in March is the boys. And after that, in the spring, the summer, and the beginning of the fall, you play AAA hockey. So there's all kinds of these programs that are around that pluck kids from different youth hockey programs, and then form a team. The team that I was coaching was called, or that I was trying to build, was with the Minnesota Blades, and it was one of the top programs here in Minnesota. And um, I guess I sent out an email scouting 8-year-olds. Uh, how did we get introduced? Because your kid was one of the, one of uh, a group on that team that was there from day one till the end, and we put a bunch of kids into college. We set a goal really early that you want to play college hockey. All right, here's the process, and it started when they were 8, and you can take it from there.
yeah. Well, it was such an interesting experience to me because I had heard a little bit about it, and again, Jerry Anderson, his 2 boys were playing in it, and they were playing in the Blades, and he said, "Well, you should maybe go to a tryout." And I said, "Well, yeah, we can go, but we're from Roseville. We're not from Edina, Wayzata, or Minnetonka. There's no chance that my kid's going to be able to make this team." So we went out there, and yeah, you were on the ice, Tyson Judding, Kelly Fairchild, and I had known your name and had known that you had played professional hockey, Kelly, Tyson, and then in the stands there you got Tommy Nevers and Tom Chorsky, and so I'm just like, well, I mean, my son is not going to be making this team. And then went out there, and Ryan was really passionate and just put on a really good show. And you guys were nice enough to take a couple guys from the east side of town. We had Carver Martin and Ryan and others, and so that really started the relationship that we had. And you talk about college hockey. I'll never forget our first meeting after the practice. We were at the Breck Ice Arena there in Minneapolis, and you said that you guys have to understand that if you stay committed to this and you guys work hard, the goal here is to be lifelong players of hockey. But I tell you that there's no reason why you can't set a goal of becoming a Division I college hockey player. And I think, Lance, on that original team, there's probably 10 to 12. And as the years went on, I think, we had teams that had 15 or so of the players that are now Division I hockey players. So it was quite eye-opening to be exposed to that and to the commitment that it takes to be a good hockey player. But it seemed so natural for you. You loved hockey. You had all the training aids. You had your two boys in it who were having a great time. Lisa supporting the whole hockey mentality that you guys have, and it seemed very natural, and it was so fun. We got to meet Sean Bolson and his crew. So you wouldn't know that people are playing in Wilmer, or the Kesters playing out in western Minnesota. And so you start to see passionate kids coming from different areas, and then you get a little different view of the west side of town. You see hardworking guys from Edina and hardworking guys from Wayzata, and it's like, hey, this is a really good thing for my kid. And it became a really good thing for my kid. My son had a great time, and then as a family, we would follow them, your team, to all of the places that we played in Canada and in the United States. And we just had a fantastic time. And you were just a fantastic influence on Ryan and our whole hockey, calendar for a number of years, and it couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, those years were fantastic. I have to say that I learned a lot coaching the 97 group. Um, there was, there's so many teams that at the end of every season, everyone's on pins and needles because you got to have tryouts again. And we chose not to do that. We kept a core group of players that were there from the beginning. There was some that went in and out for different reasons, but I was pretty proud of the fact that we stuck to our guns. We didn't win all the tournaments, but I'll tell you the one tournament that they did win up in Vancouver. That's
Yep.
something they'll never forget. And as parents too, we won't either, because we got close so many times, and it was just one of those magical moments.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, going down to Chicago and seeing those teams, or going up to Edmonton and playing at the Brick, or going to Toronto. I mean, the exposure that the boys had, and then we as parents had, and then seeing all the names of the players that are playing right now in the NHL at that level. It's just it's fantastic. It just was a great experience then, and it's really fun to follow the different players now, for sure.
So that's how I met you. Um, all of a sudden, I'm in need of a lawyer. Can you answer a question for me? Why is there such a negative perception of lawyers? I mean, I remember, I guess the joke that you always hear on TV is, what do you call 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? A good start.
Right, right, right.
So why is that? Why do lawyers have a bad rap? And because, my view is, you you love a lawyer only when you need a lawyer. You know what I
Right.
mean? That you don't know how much you need a lawyer until you need a lawyer. And I needed a lawyer. You were the first guy that I called. I knew nothing about your, what you've done, what you accomplished, your background in it. When we got into the nitty gritty, you were a frickin' pit bull, and uh, I was amazed, and it was like it was your game time. You had your pregame nap, and then all right, we get together, and you were just ferocious. Um, you got to really enjoy your job if that's what it's like all the time, where you prepare and then you it's your game and you go do it.
Yeah, no, hey, I definitely enjoyed working with you and working with Lisa. I mean, we've done some good things together with the practice, and it's been great. And yeah, I know the jokes are there, and a lot of it comes from bad experiences that people have, that maybe something happened to them because the lawyer on the other side maybe caused a result that they didn't like. But I think that there's hopefully as many instances where people are in difficult situations, they need a lawyer, and the lawyer can really come through for them and make it, a good thing, and that representation really important. And we try and spread the word. We try and do things that are good. The Lawyers on Ice, I will say, is an opportunity for us to have a lot of fun playing hockey with lawyers, and then raising money for legal aid, which SMERL, Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, is. And so I think if lawyers do more actions like that, where they're trying to help raise money, help communities, I would also work on the boards at the hockey boards, the Oval, and then the Roseville area hockey board. And a lot of times they'll need lawyers because there's certain things that have to be done that a lawyer can do. And so I think as lawyers, it's kind of our job to help out and try and give lawyers a good name as people who can be helpful to others in legal areas, or because you and I are talking in hockey areas, that can make the association between the two a lot more fun.
So just to give people listening a little more background, started coaching your kid, and then you have I guess you call it a nonprofit or pro, whatever you call it, but it's called Schmerls. What that stands for, SMRLS, is Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services. This is something that you put together. You get a bunch of people, ex NHLers, lawyers, and then go to the Excel Energy Center. And there's a bunch of mini games that are played and lots of conversations, a couple beers. Um, that is pro bono work. Is there something that is that part of, you have to give so much back per year, every lawyer does? Or is this something that you just do in addition to your practice because you're just a good guy and it's important?
Yeah, great question. They do want us all to do pro bono work. And the way I see it, there are a lot of times where I am talking to people and helping them out where I don't charge. And that's just part of the situation, because you don't want someone not getting the right legal advice because they can't afford it. We want to make the justice available for all. And who does a really good job of that is legal aid. And the one I'm connected with, again, my dad got me connected with them back in the 90s. And the idea is that if you can't afford an attorney and you have a legal civil matter, that you go to a place like Smurls. And they work in 33 of the counties in southern Minnesota. They're based in St. Paul. And yeah, if the thought I had with the Lawyers on Ice is it's trying to get the name out, that when people have extra money or people have causes they want to give to, that they think of Smurls. and then try and get the lawyers themselves to donate. And so they'll have what we have is team sponsors. We have players paying to play. And then we've developed this association with the Excel Center and the Minnesota Wild, where we've been able to play there. They give us the keys to the X, so to speak, for a day, and fortunate to have you come and play there several times. And we try and mix in people who will enjoy playing and people who will enjoy playing with, and that's where you fit in. And had a great time. I still remember the face-off draw where you told me just to go and you'd find me pretty soon at the next blue line. There was the puck waiting for me. All I had to do was try and put it in. And but those are just great days that we have when we're there at the X. And yes, the idea is to raise money. And I think in the 20 plus years, usually it's about 10 or 15,000 we're able to raise each year. So a simple idea of playing hockey at the X for charity has turned into a 25-year deal that probably raised $200,000-300,000 for the legal aid by doing that. And again, trying to spread the word that if we can all help out, use our skills or talents in other ways, and the benefactors can be an association like this that really needs it, let's do it.
Can you give us a couple examples of, who might be needing this? Because I think I remember a conversation that I had with someone at one of the events where it was a woman that had a couple kids and was in a tough relationship. So anything that you can share on that to tell people where the money's going to help?
Yes, 100%. So if anyone finds themselves in a legal situation where they're maybe a landlord is going to kick them out, or they're in a situation with a spouse, or they're in a situation with a business and they just don't have the money to afford an attorney, they can call and be screened by SMERLs and their intake and see if they can qualify to get legal representation for free. And so the real studs in this whole program is those lawyers who work for SMERLs and do it knowing that that person is not going to be able to pay them, but they're going to get paid a salary from SMERLs, and then they're going to be able to go to court, go against the big guys, and hopefully get justice for that person in court or in their legal situation. That person hopefully uses that situation to better themselves, and then they don't have a legal need going forward and everything's good. And then that attorney goes on to the next case. The volume is pretty high. They have over 10,000 clients they serve every year.
Wow.
There's over 50 attorneys there, and they do just fantastic work. It's a thankless job. It was really neat that one of the recent years we had a hockey player who was playing at SMERLs, and he was working in a law firm, got acquainted with the program and said, you know what, maybe I'd like to go and work with SMERLs. So sure enough, he changed from a private law firm, went to work at SMERLs. And so I was really happy to see that. And
wow, cool.
Now we have a hockey player, lawyer working at SMERLs and helping out. But that's just the idea, is that people who are in need, who can't afford the legal services, they can see if they qualify. And if they do, then they're going to get representation through one of the excellent lawyers at SMERLs.
Dude, this is awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure reminiscing and hearing about the journey you and your family have had through hockey and beyond. What do you got going on at SMERLs? It's amazing. Thank you for sharing that and continuing to do it, because it's hard every year. You got to keep on trying to do what you've done the previous year and build a little more, and there's drop off, and you got to get new people to come in and fill that void. But thank you for all you've done to not only make the game of hockey better by all your participation, coaching, and being on boards and stuff, but what you've done in the extra time where you probably should be golfing more. You're dedicating it to people that are in need, and it's so admirable. I want to model myself after you. So thank you, Mike, for being here.
Hey, thank you, Lance. Always love to see you, talk to you. So nice that our boys are getting a chance to play against each other. That'll cause us to continue the communications here. And thanks for the kind words, but thanks for all you do. I know number 11 wouldn't be on the ice tonight if it wasn't for your passion and your interest in developing hockey players, and you've developed so many. Can't thank you enough for your commitment in doing that.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to get the information from you offline here that I'll put in the description. If anyone would like to donate, I mean, we're coming up to the season of giving. Let's think a little schmirls and helping some people in southern Minnesota. So I'll get that from you. Thanks again for being here, Mike, and have a great weekend. And maybe we'll see each other at one of the games.
Sounds great, Lance. Have a good weekend yourself.
Well, that concludes another episode of the Hockey Journey podcast. I can't thank you enough for stopping by and listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing Michael O'Neill's life journey so far that seems to have always had the game of hockey connected to him in some way. His service to others is contagious, and I'm glad to call Mr. O'Neill a dear friend. Lastly, if you think there's someone in your circle of family and friends that might like this episode as well, please share it with just one person. It will really help me in growing this hockey community. Again, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or submit a review. I hope to see you back here soon, and do me a favor, make someone close to you smile today. All the best, my friends.